Welcome back to the second part of 30 Days of Spectre on day 27, which is obviously this Friday. Now, we've already given you one lovely dose of an interview, and now we've got JBR listener David West. With me is my good host, Mr. Tom Sears, and my name is Chris Wright.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you know what's funny?
Right.
We do it so many times now with the introductions that sometimes even if you just put one word in the wrong place, the whole house of cards falls apart. That's how stable the JBR level of professionalism is. If one of us just says one word in the wrong place, the whole sentence falls apart.
That's it. It's like we could almost just replace ourselves with robots, I think. Yeah. Should we do that?
Yeah. That maybe we just write stuff down and have that automatic voice on the computer be like, hello and welcome to James Bond Radio, like that. I'm sure people would love that. Yeah,
I'm sure they would. Yeah,
absolutely. So joined today by Mr. David West. David West, I've met a couple of times now. He came along to my birthday thing where we went to see Goldfinger together at the cinema just off Leicester Square there. And he also came along to the JBR meetup pre-Spectre as well. Mm-hmm. So lots to be talked about today with David. Now, before we get cracking on with that, make sure you come and join us on all the social medias and all that kind of stuff. We got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got YouTube. Make sure you come and like and follow and subscribe on all of those platforms. Also come over to jamesbondradio.com. and get involved over there as well with the conversations in the comment section. And obviously you can leave us your 90-second Spectre review. Make sure you do that because literally we're going to be cutting off.
We've got one more day, is it?
We got one more day and then we're closing the door on that one. So basically, long story short, if you haven't already, get your 90-second Spectre review in right now. Pause this, go and do it now, get it over and done with. And if you're on the fence, don't be shy, get involved. No matter what you think, whether you're a fan, whether you're not, or somewhere in the middle.
Think of what you could be doing those 90 seconds. You could be having a bath. You could be on the loo. You could be just before you go to bed. You could be in between your mouthfuls of your Frosties or whatever. You could be in a taxi, in an elevator maybe. Yeah. Why not give a 90-second elevator pitch, of Spectre? Brilliant. That's what you're going to be. Yeah. So it could be anywhere.
Or pleasuring a lady for all of 90 seconds, which is, for some people, that's quite good going.
It's not bad. It's my record.
Very nice. Good stuff. Okay, then. So without further ado, let's turn it over to Mr. David West and see what his thoughts are on Spectre.
Hello and welcome to our next 30 Days of Spectre James Bond Radio interview. And with us today is Mr. David West. Hey, David, how's it going?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm all right as well. And obviously our co-host, the lovely and admirable Mr. Tom Sears.
Hello, mate. Admirable, eh? That's a new one. I like that. It's good stuff. So where are you calling from today, David?
I'm calling from London. Very exotic.
Nice. Very nice. Like Mr. Bond himself.
Yeah. Very MI6.
Yeah. Cool then. So we're going to kick off with the quick fire questions. Number one is, David West, what is your favourite Bond film?
My favourite Bond film is Casino Royale.
Ooh.
It's my favourite Bond film, and it's probably my favourite film of all time as well.
Nice.
I consider myself a big movie fan as well, so I just struggle to think of another film that just excites me so much.
What is it about Casino that tickles your fancy?
Everything. I just think it's a perfect movie. I think there's no such thing as a perfect movie, but I think Casino Royale is maybe the closest thing you could get to it.
Is it Eva Green? Is it Daniel's performance? Is it the storyline? What is it?
Maybe it's just everything. All the way through. I watched it recently with my friends, and like every 2 seconds, I was just going, go. It's so good. Just every 2 seconds is just, it's brilliant.
Very nice.
That's good. I think that's we've had loads of people have said Casino Royale is their favourite film, but no one's mentioned it as being their favourite film of all time. So I think that's amazing. And it's got to be up there, isn't it? It's hard sometimes to rank Bond films against non-Bond films because they're kind of like in their own category, and they're hard enough to rank as they are sometimes. But then it's almost like there's Bonds and there's the other films. But yeah, it's a tricky
Do you know
one,
what? Right? That is what I do actually. I say, whenever I say, that's the best film of all time, I then say in brackets afterwards, that's not a Bond film. So it's like, that's how I do it. For example, for me, I would say an example of a perfect film would be Back to the Future. I think that is a perfect movie that you couldn't ever improve on any level. But it's a non-Bond film, so it gets in its own little category.
Oh, there you go. It's good. So, question number 2, David. I'm not sure if you've read any, but what is your favourite James Bond book?
Favorite James Bond book is maybe On Her Majesty's Secret Service, maybe.
Nice.
I
And
recently
why?
went on an adventure to read all the continuation novels recently, and it's took me a good 3 years or so.
Dude, so what, you went all the way from Colonel Sun all the way through to like Trigger Mortis?
Yeah, I haven't read
Wow.
it yet, but it's my next one to read, I think.
Dude, and what was that like? Because I haven't read the Gardeners or the Bensons since I was a kid. So like, did you like rediscover anything or anything new that you didn't realize before?
Well, some are definitely better than others. I'll tell you that. Colonel Sun is incredible. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that in a film one day. I really like the first 3 or 5 Gardner books, and after that, I wasn't really that fussed about them. Really,
Yeah.
it's kind of a bit of a drag to get through them, to be honest with you. And I was really pleasantly surprised with the Raymond Benson books. They were really, really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed them.
Cool.
So if you haven't read them, I recommend that.
Very nice. Cool stuff. Question number 3 is, who is your favourite Bond girl?
Possibly Eva Green.
Very nice.
Yeah, just going back to the Casino Royale thing there.
Do you have the two sides of the coin like we often talk about? Like you get the one who you just want to get stuck into versus the one who's, strength of character, one who you take home to visit your mum kind of thing?
I don't know, maybe Eva Green fills both categories actually as well.
Very nice.
But in terms of actresses, maybe I'd say Rosamund Pike as well. I just wish she was in a better film. And because I think she's an incredible actress. So I'd like to see what she would have done in a Daniel Craig film or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you seen Gone Girl?
Oh yeah.
She's amazing in that.
She freaked me out in that film. Man.
Yeah, she's freaky.
I used to find her attractive until I saw that film.
Yeah, and now it's kind of still attractive, but scary attractive.
Yeah.
All right, so here's an interesting one. Who is your favourite James Bond villain?
Ooh, I don't know.
It's a toughie.
Yeah, maybe Silva I was really impressed with in Skyfall, actually.
Yeah.
Because usually, I remember getting really excited about that film, and that casting of Javier Bardem really excited me, and it really met my expectations and exceeded them as well.
Very nice. Good stuff.
He was a good psycho, wasn't he? Good psycho.
Next question. Who is your favourite James Bond actor?
Probably Sean Connery in his prime.
Very nice.
Definitely. Because there's a certain thing after when in You Only Live Twice, you feel he's not really enjoying it that much, and he's kind of walking through it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's fair to judge it based on that. If you look at Connery in his prime in the first 4 films, just absolutely incredible. You can't beat that.
I think we've said that before, haven't we, Chris? It's kind of like, I think the only fair way to do it is judge them when they're at their absolute best, because everyone's capable of making a stinker, but not everybody is capable of making like a real golden nugget.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's the fair way to judge them for sure.
Yeah, Daniel Craig's really.
He's got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Craig awesome as well. Are you the sort of person that appreciates all the Bond actors? Is there any that you don't like, or are you happy to watch them all depending on your mood and how long since?
Yeah, I'm happy to watch all the Bonds really. I don't, because I think you've said this before as well. If I was to rank my favourites, I couldn't say what my least favourite was, because that just feels too harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you've got Sean up there, and then you got everyone else. Maybe that's one way to do it.
But everyone just now is talking about who's going to replace Daniel Craig. I can't see how they're going to fill those shoes, but it's going to be interesting to see whoever does it next.
Do you know what? I think the only way they're going to do it when the time comes is with somebody who is not on any of our radars right now. It won't be Fassbender. It won't be Tom Hardy. It won't be any of those kinds of people. They're too big for it. I think what they're going to do is pull some complete unknown out of the bag that is just, it's got to be like they do. They've got to be so different from the last guy. So I think he won't be anything like Daniel. He'll be a completely different angle on it. He'll be like a Brosnan versus no, that's the wrong comparison. It'll be like a Craig versus a Roger kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I think that'll be the sort of difference we'll get next time.
Interesting. I'll have to wait and see. So, this is a really tough one, actually, David. What is your favourite scene in the entire series?
Favorite scene? Oh, geez. This is going to sound really kinky of me, but maybe the torture scene in Casino Royale.
Very nice.
But it was, oh god, the tension when I was watching that. For the first time I ever saw that, I was in the cinema just going, oh, just give him the code.
That's often my thought, is that if I was a spy, I would be the worst one ever, because as soon as I got captured, they would just have to look at my bollocks and I would tell them whatever they wanted to know. There would be, I don't care how many men would die, just leave them alone. All right, you can have whatever you want. Cool. Next question is, what is your earliest memory of Bond? Where did it all begin for you?
I remember my brother had a GoldenEye lunchbox at school, and I think I was 5 when GoldenEye came out, so I was a bit too young. And then I like saw my dad and my brother watching them on the TV and stuff like that. And my mum would say, "I'll go watch Bond with your dad and your brother." I was like, nah.
No way.
And now I've kind of got the bug and I've taken it too far, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember any particular film as your earliest memory, or any one that stands out in your memory at all from back then?
I remember ITV were playing the Roger Moore films when I was little, so I just caught little bits and pieces of them, and I saw like maybe the first full one I saw was For Your Eyes Only, all the way through. And then I remember I saw The World Is Not Enough in the cinema, and I was 9 years old, and it was a 12 film, so I felt like a rebel.
Nice.
And ever since then, I've just been obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a healthy obsession, don't worry. Well, hopefully it is. Otherwise, we're all screwed. But, so the next quickfire question then, I'm not sure if you've been to any, but do you have a favourite Bond location that you visited, and perhaps a favourite one that you'd like to visit that you haven't had the chance to already?
I've actually visited Piz Gloria in Switzerland.
Oh, lucky so-and-so.
That was incredible, yeah.
Was it snowing at the time, or was it summer?
No, it was during summer, actually, so there was no snow, but you can't be too picky.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Cool stuff. So it's time to talk Spectre. Are you ready for it?
I hope so, yeah.
All right, cool stuff. So question number 1, are you a Spectre lover, a hater, or somewhere in the middle?
I am somewhere in the middle.
Ooh, okay. Let's talk about that then. Talk to us. Tell us what's going on.
Well, initially, the first time I saw it, I was slightly disappointed, but I've seen it 4 times since then, so I think I've kind of made my peace with it.
Cool.
But it's not to say that I didn't enjoy it or I hated it or anything like that. It was just there was just a few little bits and pieces that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall, I still really enjoyed it.
Do you think that was because the film was something you weren't expecting, or was it actually because you were watching something within the film and one or two things didn't quite click for you? Or a combination?
Maybe just one or two things didn't quite click with me, really. I just like everything that was there was amazing, I thought. I just think it needed to be, I don't know, there was just little hints of things I think they needed to elaborate on. Maybe another draft of the script would have helped a bit more, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And where was your first Spectre experience? What was the atmosphere like, and did you enjoy it? The actual attendance.
It was at the big IMAX in the middle of London, the BFI. Nice. So that was an incredible atmosphere.
Very nice. I bet. What was that, like the midnight showing or something?
Yeah, it was at midnight, so I was really tired as well. So maybe that's what. Maybe it's not the film's fault at all.
Very nice. No worries. So
I remember I tried to have a nap before, but I was just too excited. I was just like, people are already watching it, and I can't sleep.
No, we were gonna. That was our plan, wasn't it, Chris? After the lunchtime meetup, I thought was to go back to the hotel, have a little nap, and like prime ourselves for the evening. But that just didn't happen at all in the end.
You just can't do it.
So then, what we'll do is we'll go through and talk in a bit more detail about what you liked and what you didn't like. So the first question is, what would you say is your favourite part of the film, David?
Maybe the pre-title sequence leading into the title sequence
that is a banger.
Oh, it's all incredible.
Yeah,
so much. When it started with the gun, I mentioned to my friends sitting next to me, I was like, if this started with the gun barrel, I'm just gonna shit myself.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a problem I've had in the past. That's for sure. Yeah, no, that opening sequence, man. Every time I see it, I've seen it 5 times now. Every time I see it, it just blows me away, and I love it more. I think that for me I think it might be my favorite opening sequence ever. I think, but it's too soon to make that judgment.
Yeah.
So it might just be the fact that it's new, but I think it's definitely top 5 at the very least for me. That pre-titles.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that's.
Everyone's thought the same, haven't they? Pretty much. I don't think there's many people that haven't liked it. Put it that way.
Well,
David, what you said?
Sorry, one of my issues with it really is the Thomas Newman's score. I'm not sure because I'm not sure if you've noticed, but he's taken a lot of cues from the Skyfall score.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of disappointed with, because I was watching this incredible action sequence in the pre-titles, and then I was kind of getting pulled away from the film, going, "Oh, that's music from Skyfall." And when I hear Bond music, I automatically think of the
film it's from.
Yeah. Just watching the helicopter stuff in Spectre, which is incredible, and I was just thinking about the bike chase in Skyfall.
Yeah.
It's only a problem a hardcore Bond geek would have, I think.
Yeah. It's an odd decision, though, isn't it? Because it's something. I mean, there's that little tiny segment we get in Golden Gun where he spies Sheriff J.W. You can hear the hints of the Live and Let Die theme, which is great. But I mean, in terms of actual recycling of previous soundtracks, this is pretty much the first time that we've had it in, within several minutes worth of cues throughout the film, isn't it? So it is a strange decision. But quite a few people have mentioned about the score before as well, which is odd. So aside from potentially the soundtrack and the pre-title sequence, if there is anything else you would change at all, what would that be?
What, in the overall film?
Yeah.
Maybe the biggest thing that bugged me was the love story between Bond and Madeline Swan. I think you guys have already talked about it, but I think it works if you just treat it as if Madeline's like just a normal Bond girl, and it just ends with him going into the sunset with her.
Yeah,
I've seen in interviews that Sam Mendes says that it's a love story, and that's what he was trying to get across. And I just didn't think it worked. I mean, when you watch the film again in multiple viewings, you see it there in the actors' performances because they're doing a great job. Daniel Craig used to do. But I just think the script needed an extra draft or two, maybe, to really sell it, because there's like. I don't know, she goes along from resenting him to like saying I love you, and it just comes out of nowhere, I think.
So a common comment is that the love story side of things just feels a bit rushed for some people. Is that what you're saying? That's you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, it's definitely there. I just think it comes as a bit of surprise the first time you see it, and I think the script could have maybe had a little bit more development on that front, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult as well for a couple of reasons when you look at Spectre and you automatically think of Casino Royale, because it was done so brilliantly with Vesper and Bond, but it was done over a lot longer time period, isn't it? So you can see their relationship develop in Casino, and I think it's hinted that it's a bit of a different type of relationship in Spectre. I think it's more the lust and the drive from being in such an intense sort of experiences together that's kind of put them into that position. Whereas in Casino, we get to see that over sort of an elongated period of time. So it is difficult. And the fact that it's been so fresh, it's only 3 films ago that we've had a really strong love relationship, that to have another one or potentially another one this soon, it's quite a strange, that's something else we've never had before, I guess.
I've got no problem with the actual concept of it. I think it's just the execution of it. I think because Bond's had a lot of lady friends over the years, and I think for him to actually love someone, I think there needs to be something there that makes her extra special, like Tracy or Vesper or something.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? What you look at with Tracy is somebody who is sort of equally as damaged as Bond, and initially she's not taking any shit, and and you definitely see that develop over the course of Majesties. You do get a lot of people say the romance montage is cheesy in Majesties, but I don't think it is at all. I think like the way that story develops between the two of them until the point when they're in the back of the car with Draco in the middle of them and they're just gazing at each other. Do you know what I mean? Like you really feel it, and it goes the same with Casino. And I suppose the tricky part of that is like with Spectre, she's not really in it for like the first hour or so, is she? Do you know what I mean? So you've got to get quite a lot. As though I suppose Vesper doesn't turn up till sort of midway through Casino, does she? But yeah, it's a tricky one there, I suppose.
Because I think on paper it works because Bond falls in love with intelligent women, and she's a doctor, and she's the daughter of an assassin, and there definitely is. You can see why Bond would be attracted to her, and vice versa. But I just think there needed to be something more in the script that develops the relationship a bit better, I think.
Fair play. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. So how do you think, I've got a theory that basically all the people who really loved Skyfall are the ones who aren't liking Spectre as much, and the ones who didn't like Skyfall as much are the ones that really love Spectre. So where do those two films sit with you in comparison to each other?
I love Skyfall, so maybe that's where it comes from.
Cool.
It's in my top 5, I think. Yeah.
Spectre or Skyfall?
Skyfall.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if I was to rank all the Bond films, I think Spectre would maybe be in the top 10,
Okay.
Or maybe the top 12. Somewhere there, around there.
So what about if you were to rank the Daniel Craig Bonds from first to last? How would that go?
Maybe pick Casino Royale, Skyfall, maybe Spectre, and then Quantum. But I don't think Quantum is as bad as everyone says it is. So.
No.
Do you think, so certainly for me as well, do you think the context of Quantum in comparison to Spectre, because there's that whole link with the previous films, do you think Quantum, that improves Quantum any? That there's kind of that continuity now? Or?
Yeah, maybe it does, because there was a whole. I think people were being a bit impatient with Quantum. It's like, it doesn't go anywhere. Mr. White's still alive by the end of it. And I think people are just being impatient because it does pay off in this film. I think, yeah. But there was certain links I think were a bit forced. Maybe like Silva being a part of Spectre as well. I thought that was a little bit forced. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, do you know what? I get that actually. Having read the leaked script now, there is actually more in there in the earlier draft about that relationship, and there's actually a scene where Blofeld is talking about the bombed out MI6, and he's basically explaining how he bankrolled Silva to do that, basically.
Really?
So yeah, I think the crazy thing is like, for example, to tie in Quantum, all you needed was one line, and that's what they did in the film. You know, when Q analyzes the ring and he's like, Lashif, Quantum, Green, blah, 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 they're all linked to Spectre. All you needed to say, because obviously that's sort of almost obvious, because obviously Mr. White's the link in Casino and Quantum, and Mr. White says at the end of Casino, after he shoots Lashif, before he shoots Lashif, he says, doesn't he, how loyalty is more important to our organization than money. Or was that Sanchez? I think that was Sanchez that said that. But along those lines is whatever he says. I can't remember the exact quote. And then obviously you get the Mr. White link in Quantum, and there's this big organization that's very Spectre-like. So those ones are obvious links that link in easily to Spectre, whereas Skyfall doesn't as much because it's more of its own beast. So I feel like if they'd have just added that, kept that line in, then it would have made like all he had to say was, instead of just saying, he says Lashif, Green, Silva, like when they're in that sort of in his crater base. I feel like if he'd have just said how he bankrolled Silva, then instead of just saying Silva was linked, that would be enough information. Just that one extra word of like, I bankrolled Silva would make that link a lot smoother than I think a lot of people feel it is.
I think there is certain links in Skyfall that could be carried over. I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but I noticed this in my last viewing. And Madeline Swan's bedroom in Blofeld's lair, there's that picture on the wall, but you don't see a proper shot of it. It's from a sideways angle. But I think it's the same picture that Severine was selling off in Skyfall. And when I saw that, we'll have to look out for that next time. That's true. That would be a nice touch.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to look at. So when she's in a room, whereabouts is the picture?
I think it's above the bed. You don't get a proper
above
shot.
the bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
cool. That's it.
I'll
That's
have to,
good,
not,
well
not
spotted.
definite about that, but I saw it and I was
No.
going, oh, that's quite nice. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
That's
nice.
good. And there was another little link which I thought might have been possible as well, was the fact that at the start of the Spectre meeting, they're talking about Spectre running all these prostitution rackets. And obviously Severine was part of a prostitution racket, the Macau sex trade. So maybe that Macau sex trade came under Spectre, and that's how they were sort of giving one of their women to Silver, I guess. You know, there could be a potential link there. But I agree with Tom. If there was just that one line saying that Blofeld had bankrolled Silver, that's all they needed, and everyone would have been a lot happier, I think. So it's a shame, and it seems a bit strange why they didn't keep sort of a little line like that. But there we are.
Yeah, I can see them dramatically why they would choose to do that, because there was a major thing in Skyfall where they killed off M, and that's what like general moviegoers would remember. I reckon that's why, but maybe just an extra line to make that. Whereabouts did that deleted scene take place? Was that?
That was at the. I believe that was towards the end when Blofeld's actually in the MI6 building, like just before that kind of showdown. That's where that was going to take place. But yeah, so I suppose when you think about it, with Silver's plan, everybody remembers Silver's plan is to kill M. But obviously, the mission around that was basically the list of undercover MI6 agents trying to recover that hard drive, wasn't it? That's what he's trying to do at the very beginning. So that's a very Spectre-like thing to want to get hold of that disk, basically, and all that information, isn't it? So, you know, to me, that's the link to Silver, not the whole, you know, that's the link between Silver and Spectre, not the plot to kill M as such, but just trying to, you know, Silver working for Spectre in trying to get that list of all the agents everywhere, I think.
And it does seem like Blofeld would say to Silva, like, I'll let you kill M if you give me this list of agents and stuff like that. So it kind of does tie in.
Yeah. I like that.
I think it's really clever the way they had the climax in the MI6 building, which was up really nicely as well. I like that. Yeah,
that's what we said, wasn't it? Some people are like, I feel like that's the first time. That's like a different setting, isn't it? In the sense that it's usually in a supervillain's base or something like that, but having it actually in MI6 or the ruins of MI6 is quite a meaningful sort of location for that climax, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, David, what would you like to see out of Bond 25, and what do you think we are going to see out of Bond 25?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I hope Daniel Craig comes back. I'm getting really worried about these rumors saying that he's not coming back and stuff like that, which I hope is not true at all. Blofeld's still alive, which I really like. He can come back. There was, I don't know, are you familiar with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy? Yeah. There's, you know, Heath Ledger died before they filmed the third film.
Yeah.
One of my mates was telling me that like one of the ideas for the third film was to have like Batman go and visit the Joker in like in prison and stuff, and he would like feed him clues and stuff like that. What's happening? So that would be really cool if that's what happened to Blofeld,
like a Hannibal Lecter style type thing. Yeah.
Kind of like Blofeld still messing with Bond's mind, even though he's incarcerated and stuff like that.
Oh, that might be nice.
That's
where he's still pulling the strings from behind bars in some strange way. Yeah.
I'm guessing there's still Spectre agents out there, I think.
Oh,
so we'll see like a number 2 or whatever you like to call it.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because a lot of people, in fact ourselves included, have thought, well, okay, opening title Bond 25 has already been written. He's going to get he's incarcerated. He's going to get freed. Maybe Mr. Hinks, maybe someone else. And then, you know, that's going to be the start of Bond 25 and he's going to be free. But perhaps that's either towards the end of Bond 25 or even Bond 26 if they do it. And perhaps you're right. Perhaps Blofeld is incarcerated for the film and pulling the strings. That's a really interesting. I really like that idea. There's a lot of potential with that, I think.
It's also interesting how long they can maybe keep Blofeld alive for, because as Bond fans, we would love to see Blofeld come back again and again and again. But I'm not sure if the general movie-going audience would like that as much. Or then maybe just go, oh, is this? They still not killed this guy yet? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. And when a new Bond film gets announced, there's like, oh, who's the villain going to be? And it's like, I don't know if it'll have the same impact if it's the same person again. But maybe that's why they recast Blofeld in the older films. But
that is a funny one, isn't it? Actually, that is a good point in terms of how like the climate is these days with certain things. Like, for example, in the olden days, you'd have a different Blofeld in every film, pretty much. You know what I mean? And then, but that nobody was worried about that. And at the same time, you'd have the same actor playing different characters in movies right next to each other, and nobody seemed to be worried about that either. Whereas now, would you have that? You know, I suppose the most recent ones like Joe Don Baker, isn't it? You know, Jack Wade and Brad Whitaker. You know, so they were still like 8 years apart, I guess. But at the same time, it's kind of like, would you do that these days? And if they roll out Blofeld again in the next one, played by Christoph Waltz, is that in terms of press coverage, is that an anticlimax that people won't get their teeth into? Or would it be the other way around, in the very fact that he has come back and he's like the first Bond villain to come back like that for successive movies? Maybe that would be the talking point. I don't know. It's an interesting one to think over, that.
Definitely. Lots of potential for stuff to happen.
What do you think Madeleine Swan would come back in the next film?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is I think we're going to get the Blofeld trilogy, basically, and we're going to get what they toyed with at the end of Majesties, where they were going to drive away from the wedding, and then that would have been the end of the film, and then Tracy was to get shot at the beginning of Diamonds in the pre-title sequence. That was something they toyed with for a little while, and I feel like they're going to use that idea this time. And at the beginning of the next film, we're going to see Bond and Madeleine together. She gets shot in the face. Then we get sort of like maybe the George's Diamonds, like an updated version of that for Daniel. And then we're going to get the original You Only Live Twice story with Blofeld and his Garden of Death. Then Daniel bows out. That's what my theory is.
Do you know what? I think if they do it that way, for me personally, and David kind of hinted on this earlier, because the relationship isn't a strong enough point, I think it would feel diluted. For instance, if they had that idea with Vesper, so say obviously they couldn't, but say Vesper survived Casino and then the next film they shot her and Bond's devastated, that would have had the same impact had they done that with Tracy in Diamonds sort of following Majesties. But doing it with Madeleine Swan in Bond 25, I don't think there's enough of a journey beforehand or an emotional interest for that same impact to happen if they did it at the start of Bond 25.
Maybe the pre-title sequence is Blofeld getting out and then getting rescued from prison, and then the early part of the film is Bond and Madeleine, and you know, some time has passed. Maybe it's like set 2-3 years after the events of Spectre or something like that. But that's I think that's what I want to see. I think that would be, because with the thing of Daniel's movies, they're all it's a serialized storyline now. They're all linked. So to suddenly go off on a completely unrelated story and go in a different direction, especially because we've got Blofeld in captivity rather than dead, I feel that storyline has to continue, and I feel like the only way to raise the stakes with that is to have him do something really fucking nasty to Bond, and then that raises the stakes, and then that's the perfect time for Daniel to bow out after that story's over. That's what I think, anyway.
Exactly. Well, the thing with the whole revenge angle and stuff like that, it's kind of like they've kind of done it before with Quantum of Solace, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, maybe I would kind of like to see them do something different with it. Because in the books, like, Bond kind of falls in love quite a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then, because I think he falls in love with Tiffany Case, and then at the start of the next novel, like, M says to him, "Is like, oh, sorry, it didn't work out with you and Tiffany."
Yeah.
Kind of feels like Bond really wants to have this life where he can settle down and stuff like that, but he just can't do it when he tries it. So maybe the pre-titles can be like a domestic argument or something.
Over the washing up.
Yeah. Do you know what though? Because I think, did you read the book William Boyd's one, Solo?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So for me, that is the perfect ending to a Bond story. You know that part where he's with the Bond girl in the story, and then he hears the crunch on the gravel outside, and then he gets up and goes outside to check, and then realizes he can't be with her because danger's going to be around every corner, and he gets in his car and drives off and goes back to his old life, in a sense. To me, that's the perfect end. Like, I loved the ending to that book because I thought it got the character so right. And I feel like that's what Bond has to be. And I think him walking off into the sunset with Madeline at the end of this one has pissed a lot of people off. And I think that's because Bond can't do that. That's not who Bond is. He doesn't settle down and live the happy life. So I feel like if at the end of Bond 26, when we've gone through that storyline, she's been shot, Blofeld's been killed, we've had the Garden of Death, Shatterhand thing. They've got to use that title, by the way. And the end of that film is him resolving to be like, do you know what? I can't settle. I have to just be who I am and like be James Bond. And I think that would be the perfect arc for Daniel, in my opinion.
We'll just have to see if that happens.
Yeah, definitely.
There we
Excellent.
go. Good stuff.
What, are you guys getting worried about some of the negative press we're hearing about Daniel Craig and stuff like that? Because I don't know about you guys, but as a Bond fan, when you read something like that, you just go, oh, that's rubbish. That's obviously what the press has come up with. But then everyone else in the world reads it and believes it. So they always go up to you and say, oh, I hear Daniel Craig hates Bond and I hate Daniel Craig. It's like, so I've just got to constantly defend Daniel Craig like every day to like random,
Do you know what?
to non-Bond fans, normal people.
Do you know what it is? It's like press trying to be clickbaity and sell papers, because that's the shocking thing they can say. Oh, he's leaving. Who's going to be the next one? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There is no way that dude is leaving. At the very least, we'll get one more. I think we're going to get two more because, look, at the end of the day, he's now got co-producer credit, which nobody else has ever got. Even Sean never got that. He's not made a film since Skyfall. So if he was that worried about moving on and being Daniel Craig instead of being typecast as Bond, he'd have been firing out movies left, right, and centre. And for the fact that he made Skyfall and then did fuck all until Spectre, to me, that tells me he's comfortable in the role. He's like resigned to being like, do you know what? That's who I am. I'm going to be typecast, so fuck it. I'll just make as much money as I can and enjoy the ride. I think that's what that is for me, I think. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I agree. I think you can see that, A, in his performance in Spectre, not just because it's a lighter film, but his performance seems very comfortable. And B, in any interviews, it's the calmest I've seen him, or he's smiling, he's happy. He seems a lot more content than he's ever been before. And I think that just shows that, everything's going well. And I think, I think we'll definitely get one more. I think two more would be great. I think three more would be a bit too much, but I think one more at least. But we'll see.
I've got no doubt though that's rubbish and stuff like that. It's just I'm just scared in case it's hurting the image for the franchise. I think that's what some of the American reviews I've read is like. It's really affecting some people's enjoyment of the film because I've seen some reviews when some of the Americans say, "Oh, I don't think I want to see another Daniel Craig Bond film if this is how he's going to be," and it's just like, oh, well, it's not true. It's not true.
That is just total bullshit. I think that's that whole thing of negativity is infinitely more powerful than positivity. So if they, it's the old thing, if they build them up to pull them down, do you know what I mean? And it's just that part of the slope for the American press right now is just they had this huge success, so it's time to pull them down a little bit.
Well, the next one, they're gonna absolutely adore him. That's the way they love one, hate one, love one, hate one, love one, hate one. So the next one, they're gonna be, wow, he's best Bond ever, and so on. So it's just the way it is. But we just try not to get too disheartened because it's all a load of tosh, really. So
but it's quite reassuring to be a Bond fan at the minute because if a film with the caliber of Spectre is considered weak or a letdown, it's not a bad place to be, is it?
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I think at the end of the day, man, he's been around for 50 years. He's weathered more storms than this one. 2002. And do you know what I mean? It will go on forever. You know what I mean? I don't think ultimately some Muppets in the press slagging off the film isn't going to change one thing. The only thing that would really change it is if the box office receipts were just awful. And then they would be like, okay, even the public don't like this one, so we need to rethink things. If this makes a good stack of cash for them, then, that I don't think it'll be any problem at all, And like I say, for Daniel not to make any other movies in between, to get a co-producer credit on this one, that tells me they're thinking long term,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There we go. Cool stuff. Well, thanks for coming on the show, David. It was good to have a chat and a catch up.
No, I think it's been a pleasure.
Good stuff.
It's been great to talk to you, David, and really hit on some interesting points there, which is good. So it's always good to talk about Bond, but when it's so fresh and Spectre and everything, it's great. Cheers for that.
Cool, good stuff. Well, good on you for coming to the lunchtime meetup before everyone went to see Spectre. It was good to see you then.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm sure we'll hook up again soon, no doubt.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right, take care, buddy.
Cheers,
Okay.
Dave. Thanks, David.
Bye-bye.
So, what do you reckon then? So that comment he made about the painting in Madeline's room, seeing an angle, is that the same painting that Severin was selling in Skyfall? I haven't seen the film obviously since we recorded that, so I can't. I don't know. So that's one we're going to have to throw out to the JBR family and have a look at.
Yeah, definitely. It's one where, sometimes you can play back the film in your head to try and remember stuff, but that one is such a probably a blink and you miss it that I definitely didn't notice it anyway. But like you said, I haven't sort of seen it since. So next viewing, we'll be sure to check it out. If it is there, that's a pretty cool link. Then again, that's another Skyfall sort of link, isn't it? So
do you know what I was just thinking? You remember there was all that thing in Skyfall about the paintings on M's wall of initially it was the ship being kind of towed along that was like a knackered old ship that was supposed to represent Bond at the time. And then at the end when he's the very end when you have the M office scene, the painting had changed to like the ship in full battle stations mode and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I didn't look out for any paintings in M's office this time, so I wonder what we've got going on there.
There was a big one behind it, but I didn't research into it since.
Nah.
But it's bound to mean something. Everything is there for a reason.
Yeah. So we'll throw that out to the listeners as well. So if anyone's kept an eye out for those paintings, because that was a thing in Skyfall. So if there's any little nuggets in the background of Spectre, be sure to let us know, because that'd be interesting.
Definitely. Sounds good.
Stuff.
So
absolutely.
There we are. We've only got one more day of our double barrel listener interviews?
We have two more days of listener interviews, and then
That's
the listener takeover episode with all of the 90-second Spectre reviews is coming on Monday for the final day of 30 Days of Spectre. So yeah, that's going to be a good one. So what are we going to do with ourselves after November?
I think sleep might be on the cards.
Yeah,
would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is going to be strange because obviously December, we've got a couple of little things under our sleeve that we want to do for December. But with Christmas, and I think we're both going to be away for a little bit, so we'll have a little bit of a break before we come back into sort of classic JBR in January, which I'll be looking forward to because I think it'd be nice to have a little break. But I also think there'll be a day in a couple of weeks afterwards where I'll be like, I haven't talked to Tom in a while, and I'll be like, missing it. So it'll be cool to get back into the swing of things in the new year.
Absolutely, good stuff. So that about rounds up today's episodes, because we had a double barrel. We had Mr. Tony Latino and Mr. David West today.
It's like make that two.
Better make that two. Absolutely. I love that bit. Cool stuff. So we will be back tomorrow as usual with more JBR listener interviews and good fun to boot. Until then, I've been Tom Sears.
I've been Chris Wright.
And we'll be back in the morning. We'll see you then.
We will indeed. See you tomorrow, everyone. Bye.